Okay, now we're recording. I record the meetings and they'll be posted on the district website. So that's just the general info on these meetings. Again, thanks for attending. It shows you're interested in what's happening. Hopefully you find it at least semi-informative. Okay, a few topics to go over. First one is an important one, just to share kind of our enrollment numbers at the beginning of the year. I've had prior to COVID, we kind of had a pretty consistent enrollment, slightly growing. Occasional a year we might be down a few students, but pretty easy to predict how many students we would have each fall, which helps with budgeting, etc. Then COVID hit and it became very hard to predict. But we're kind of back to close to pre-COVID 2019, 2020 numbers. At Elmira Elementary School, we have 280 students. At Veneta, 356. At the middle school, 288. At the high school, 378, for a total of 1,362 students district-wide. In our budget in the spring, we budgeted for 1,340 students. So it's always good when that number comes in a little bit higher than what you budgeted versus a little bit lower. Typically, we lose students over the year. We get a little bit smaller, not a little bit bigger. So I'd imagine we probably end up right about where we budgeted, which is good. So again, total enrollment is 1,362, which on average, right, we have 12 grades plus kindergarten, 13 grades. We have around 100 kids in each grade level, which is pretty consistent over time. Some grades have a little bit fewer, some grades a little bit more, but again, 1,362 district-wide. And again, anytime you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. Okay, let me let in this carrier here. Okay, next topic I wanted to go over was just a couple of things facilities related. It's always a battle in our facilities that are aging to maintain an even temperature, and we had some specific issues last year with some parts failing. Over the beginning in about June, we've put in close to 200,000 in particular at the middle school and high school into hiring a company to kind of go through all of our system top to bottom, from the software here at the district office and in buildings that control the systems, to going through each individual unit, replacing and repairing air handlers, actuators, and just getting a lot of work done. The middle school was completed before school started. Then they moved to the high school, and we still have work continuing at the high school, probably for the next month or so. But it's gone well, and I think we will have a lot more, that our system will not only be more reliable this winter, but more easily controlled by us. So hopefully those dollars pay off in the months to come. The other piece around facilities that I wanted to share is each August we have our insurance carrier come through, someone that specializes in facilities, and do an assessment. They walk through every building, every facility. So they will then write us a report and say, hey, here's where we found some problems. So for example, maybe in a high school science room, there was a table or some equipment stacked up blocking an eye wash machine. That can be a safety hazard. Or there's stuff in a closet that's packed too close to the ceiling. It can be a fire violation. We can't have consumables close to the ceiling. Or there's some, what's some other typical ones I'm trying to think. A lot of it is around movement around the school, tripping hazards, things like this. Anyways, one of the bigger items, typically we get that report. Nothing is too surprising. We get the report that's respective to each building out to the principal, make sure we get work orders in, or if there's small things, get them fixed before school starts. One of the things that was a little more surprising this year is they said the bleachers at the football stadium were severely aging. They were concerned about the structural integrity of them. And before we had filled them with people, they wanted to have a structural engineer inspect them. So that was like a week before the first football game, or 2 weeks. We did that and got a report on what we needed to fix short term, and then kind of some longer term fixes. So we had a contractor do some of the things that they said had to be done, like maybe reinforcing a railing, or there was a soft spot in the flooring, that kind of thing, to get us blessed to be able to have people in them. But long term, we know this continues to be an issue. It's only going to get worse. We're going to have a further assessment after the season ends to talk about, is it worth putting money in it to make it last another 10, 20 years? Or should we consider tearing it down and going with purchasing some metal bleachers up until a time when we would be able to possibly pass a bond to purchase, or we'd have a new athletic facility with new bleachers. So just something to get on folks' radar. It's it's a big piece of our athletic department there at the high school. These grandstands, and they have some definite issues that we need to either pour some money into them to get them refurbished, or consider taking them out. So folks may hear about that in the months to come. Third thing I wanted to share was on open houses, just a reminder when those are. At the elementary schools, they are both the 22nd, so that's this Thursday at 6 o'clock. At the high school, it's Wednesday at 6 o'clock. And the middle school is next week. See, that would be Wednesday at 6:30, the 29th. So again, high school this Wednesday, both elementaries this Thursday, and the high school open house, or excuse me, the middle school open house next week on the 29th at 6:30. All the other 3 buildings are at 6 o'clock. Okay, next topic I wanted to give some information on was Parent Square. Hopefully you've received some communication. Maybe you got my message today on this meeting that we posted something about, just reminding folks the link that this meeting happens at 5:30. And then for the first time, I tried to do, I don't know if you got it, but an alert. So something that lets me override, let's say, you as a parent, or even I have the ability to receive all my messages at the end of day at 6 o'clock. So if I see Maya's on here, if that's the way Maya has it set up, then throughout the day messages get sent her, but they're kind of stored in queue. She gets them all at 6 o'clock in text form. But from the district's side, we have the ability to override that and send everyone something immediately. So I did that today, again, just kind of as a test on our end. It wasn't really an emergency, but to get out information around the air quality index that we monitor. And for whatever reason, I wasn't really expecting it today, but very quickly the air went poorly. A couple school districts, Oak Ridge and Lowell, were even considering closing. I think in Oak Ridge, at one point today, their numbers were over 800, and in Lowell, they were over 400. The highest we got here was in the 160s. Anyway, so I tested that system, went out Parent Square. One thing that was interesting I found out was that if you get a successful text, you won't get the phone dialer. So some people that may have their home phone or don't have it set up to get text messages, they would have gotten a phone dialer. I, on my phone, because I got a text, I didn't get a phone dialer, but other people in our office that didn't receive the text did get a phone call. For the first time, I was able to type in my text, and I tried to, they have an automatic system that it will just translate that into a machine, that computer that verbalizes what I typed into a message. That's what we use today, if you happen to get it. So again, was just kind of trying it out, seemed to all work well, but did learn a couple of things. For example, I assumed everyone would get a text and a phone call, but that was not the case. If you successfully received a text, I do not believe you received a phone call. So most administrators have used this now. I've used it. We've used it here several times at the district office. I know many teachers have, probably not all of them, but many have. Each month that the year goes on, as we approach winter break, buildings are continuing to kind of get new information about Parent Square. Teachers get trained up on how to use its different features, which again can expand to things like permission slips or signing up for open house or parent-teacher conferences, excuse me, things like that. And hopefully in the months to come, we are able to use a few more of its features. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to go over before I turn it over to you folks, if you have any questions, is just some athletics updates. First one being we hired this year for the first time in a long time, a middle school athletic director. So they're getting paid a stipend. It's a community member that's been associated with TSP. And the hope there is that it engages middle school athletics a little bit more with the school, because middle school athletics is run offsite. It's not a part of the district through TSP. I think we've had a couple meetings. The person's gotten started. I'm sure as the year goes on, we'll get this dialed in a little more. It'll become a little more beneficial. But for now, for example, some things they've been able to do besides helping promote middle school athletics, that kind of thing with staff, get up flyers, promote games. They've been able to staff and coordinate a homework club on Wednesdays. So when kids have practice right after school, they'll be able to go to a space and have somebody there to supervise them before they have practice at 3:30, so they don't have to go home and have an adult turn around and bring them back, or just hang out outside the school until practice time. So again, it's kind of a work in progress. We've gotten off to a little bit of a slow start, but I think it's, I think long-term, it will be very beneficial. A couple other things in regards to athletics at the high school. We, for the first time, again, probably since pre-COVID, we have a cheer team again, back. We had the job posted for a long time. Nobody applied, not much interest. And we got some interested parents and kids. So we posted it again, hired someone, and cheer has returned. So that's pretty cool. We also last week had a new sound system put in at the outside stadium. The one we had in there for years, you could barely hear. You definitely could not hear it if you were away from the stadium or on the other sideline. So we got to try it out for the first time this past Friday night, and it sounded great. And then the last thing I wanted to mention about athletics was that for as long as I can remember, we've been in the 4A classification. And this year we have a new league. I believe it's called the Mountain West. We're not on the Sky M anymore, and we have dropped down to 3A. So we're being able to compete a lot more against teams our size. Our league now consists of Siuslaw, which is Florence, Sisters, Cresswell, Pleasant Hill, Harrisburg, and Santiam Christian, I believe. Anyhow, so again, just wanted to go over a few things in regards to athletics. Probably won't talk about athletics again this year on these Q&As, but I wanted to get in a few things there. So, all right, so to review, went over enrollment, talked about some facility things, open house dates, parent square, and athletics. And that is all I have on my agenda to touch base on tonight. But again, if you have anything that you would like to ask, now is your chance. Ms. Perrier, have you used Parent Square as a teacher? I'll ask questions, I guess. Or maybe she's not listening. Maya, did you get my message today? Did you get the alert thing on the AQI?
I'm listening, Mr. Carpenter.
Oh, you're probably working.
No, I'm cleaning, but I am listening. And yes, I love Parent Square. I've used it a lot. And I know that our staff is using it a lot, and it seems to be really successful.
Great. Yeah, time will tell, but for sure I can tell you.
I also love Parent Square so far. It's worked out really well. I've signed some permission slips. My kids have been out for a couple days, so I have gotten some homework packets and communicated with teachers. So it's been great so far. Oh,
that's good to hear. Yeah, I don't, like I said, time will tell on how useful it is, but just here in the first few weeks, we definitely engage with more people. More people are getting the message. When we send something out, I can quickly run a report, how many text messages were received, how many were bounced back, and how many people opened and or read the text message. It'll even tell me that. And then it also is we can run a report to tell us, hey, this is a bad phone number. They got nothing. to this number, or a bad email address. So again, I send something out to our, well, we have 1,500 kids. Sometimes that can be 3,000 or 4,000 phone numbers or emails. It'll kick me back the 100 that it didn't work for, and then we can take some time here and reach out to those 100 and say, hey, is this your email address? Oh no, it changed, or you have a typo in it, or that kind of thing. So I'm glad to hear that parents are using it and teachers are using it. So great. All right, if there is no questions, and I'm not seeing any, I appreciate you stopping by. Please spread the word that these things occur every board meeting night, third Monday at 5:30. Thanks again.